The beginning of forever. In the peaceful town of Riverview, where life flowed as gently as the river that bordered it, the Thompson family was known by everyone for their kindness, warmth, and unbreakable family bond. John and Lisa Thompson had built a life that was filled with love, laughter, and a deep sense of community. John was a history teacher at Riverview High School, a beloved figure who taught with patience and a contagious enthusiasm for the past. He often reminded his students that we all come from stories, and we're each writing one. Lisa, his wife, was an experienced nurse at the local hospital, famous for her unwavering compassion. She had a knack for making even the most anxious patients feel safe and cared for. The Thompson children, Max and Lily, were the pride of the town. Max, a strong and outgoing 15-year-old, had developed a passion for sports that kept him busy most days. He was an athlete through and through, spending his evenings on the field or the court, pushing himself to be better with each game. Lily, who was 12, had a quieter soul but a vibrant imagination. She loved to create, whether it was painting colorful canvases or playing her favorite tunes on her guitar. The Thompson family was like a beacon of love in Riverview, each of them supporting and celebrating each other's dreams. And then there was Buddy. Buddy was their loyal golden retriever, a dog with a heart so big it seemed he could soak up all the world's love and give it back tenfold. Buddy had been a part of the Thompsons' lives since he was a puppy, and he'd grown up alongside Max and Lily, becoming as much a part of the family as any one of them. His golden coat shone in the sun, and his eyes sparkled with mischief and love. Buddy wasn't just a pet. He was a member of the family, someone who brought laughter on rainy days and comfort when things got tough. They'd shared countless adventures, from hikes along Riverview's trails to lazy afternoons in their spacious backyard. One particular adventure, though, would change everything. It was a sunny weekend in early summer, and the Thompsons had decided to go on a camping trip to Riverview National Park, a beautiful expanse of wilderness just a short drive from their home. The park was a familiar place, a setting for many memories they'd made over the years. As they packed up the car, Buddy bounded around excitedly, tail wagging and nose twitching, sensing that an adventure was about to unfold. The trip promised to be a peaceful escape from their busy lives, just the family, Buddy, and the great outdoors. The weekend was filled with joy. They hiked the park's scenic trails, watched the sunset from the peak, and roasted marshmallows under a starlit sky. Max and Lily laughed and played, chasing Buddy through the tall grass, their voices echoing into the evening. There was a sense of wholeness and love surrounding them as they sat by the fire, telling stories and basking in the warmth of family. But on the final day, as they packed up their campsite and prepared to head home, something unexpected happened. Buddy, ever curious and full of energy, picked up on the scent of a wild animal, a fox, perhaps, or a deer, and dashed off into the woods. At first, they thought he would return within minutes, as he always did. But minutes turned into an hour, then 2, and Buddy was nowhere to be found. The Thompsons searched frantically. They called his name over and over, their voices filled with a rising sense of dread. They ventured deeper into the forest, but there was no sign of him. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the trees. They refused to leave, hoping against hope that Buddy would come running out of the woods, his usual smile on his face. But that moment never came. With heavy hearts and tear-filled eyes, they were forced to leave the park without Buddy, promising each other that they wouldn't give up. They put up posters all over town, knocked on neighbors' doors, and contacted local animal shelters, describing Buddy's distinctive golden fur and his gentle eyes. They even hired a professional tracker, but no trace of Buddy could be found. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the reality began to settle in. Life moved on, as it always does, but there was an empty space in the Thompsons' hearts that no amount of time could fill. They'd mourned Buddy, but they never truly let go. Every now and then, one of them would pause, look out at the backyard, and imagined that Buddy was out there, waiting to come inside. 3 long years passed. Max and Lily had grown, with Max now in his final year of high school and Lily blossoming into a young teenager. The family had even welcomed a new dog into their home, a golden retriever puppy named Luna, who brought a fresh wave of joy and laughter into their lives. Luna was playful, her energy filling the house with a new sense of life, but she could never quite replace Buddy in their hearts. There were times when Max would watch Luna playing in the yard and catch himself wondering if Buddy would approve of his little sister. The pain of Buddy's absence was softer now, but it lingered, a quiet ache in their hearts. Then, one sunny afternoon, a twist of fate brought an unexpected encounter. Lisa was out for a walk with Luna, wandering through the town's main park. The sun cast a warm glow over the park's lush greenery, and laughter and chatter filled the air. Luna tugged excitedly on her leash, her nose twitching as she sniffed the ground, drawn to every new scent. As they strolled along, Lisa noticed a small crowd gathering near a park bench. Curious, she made her way over, Luna trotting beside her. As they approached, she caught sight of a stray dog at the center of the commotion. The dog's fur was matted and dusty, and his thin frame suggested he'd been on his own for a long time. But there was something about him, a familiarity that tugged at her heart. She stepped closer, her breath catching as the dog turned and their eyes met. It was a pair of gentle, familiar eyes that looked back at her. She felt an overwhelming rush of emotion, as if a lifetime of love and loss had come flooding back in that single heart-stopping moment. Could it be? She whispered his name, her voice trembling with hope. Buddy, a glimmer of hope. Lisa's heart raced as she stared into the eyes of the dog in front of her. The crowd around them grew quieter, sensing something important was happening. As Lisa took a hesitant step forward, the stray dog didn't react immediately, his weary eyes scanning her face as if searching for a memory hidden deep within. His fur was matted and dull, a far cry from the gleaming coat she remembered. But there was a spark in his gaze, a glimmer of recognition that made her heart pound. Luna, sensing the tension in the air, stood still beside Lisa, her usual playful energy subdued as she looked between her owner and the stray. Lisa bent down, her voice barely above a whisper as she reached her hand out gently, afraid that any sudden movement would break the fragile connection between them. "Buddy, is it really you?" she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. For a few heartbeats, the dog remained motionless, his eyes locked onto hers. Then, slowly, as if awakening from a long-forgotten dream, he took a hesitant step forward, sniffing the air around her outstretched hand. Lisa held her breath, her heart aching with hope and fear. Could this truly be Buddy, lost for 3 long years in the wilderness, somehow finding his way back to them? The crowd watched in silence, their curiosity giving way to a shared sense of awe as the stray took another step closer. And then, in a moment that felt both surreal and miraculous, he pressed his nose against her hand. The warmth of his breath, the familiar weight of his head leaning into her touch, it was all unmistakably Buddy. Tears streamed down Lisa's face as she ran her fingers gently through his fur, feeling the ridges of his ribs beneath his unkempt coat, a reminder of the hardships he must have faced in his time away. "Oh, Buddy," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "We thought we'd lost you forever." As Lisa knelt in the grass, cradling her long-lost dog, Luna watched with wide, curious eyes. She sniffed cautiously at Buddy, her tail wagging in tentative excitement. Buddy turned to her, his expression softening as if recognizing a kindred spirit. The 2 dogs touched noses, a silent greeting that bridged the years and the experiences each had faced. Luna, young and full of life, seemed to understand that Buddy was special, someone who belonged to the family in a way she couldn't yet comprehend. The crowd began to disperse, whispering excitedly about the emotional reunion they had just witnessed. Some took photos, others clapped, but all of them left with a sense of having witnessed something extraordinary, a testament to the strength of love and loyalty. Lisa's thoughts raced as she realized the next step she needed to take. She couldn't wait another moment to share this miracle with the rest of her family. She carefully took hold of Buddy's collar, gently coaxing him to follow her and Luna back to their car. Every step felt surreal, as if she were walking through a dream. Could this really be happening? After all the years of hoping, the countless nights spent wondering if he was out there somewhere, surviving against all odds, Buddy was finally home. As they reached the car, Buddy hesitated, looking up at the vehicle as if trying to recall something familiar. Luna hopped in first, her tail thumping against the seat as she made room for her newfound friend. Lisa carefully lifted Buddy into the back seat beside Luna, her heart breaking at how thin and fragile he felt. She closed the door gently, pausing for a moment to collect herself before getting behind the wheel. Her hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel, her mind racing with emotions: joy, relief, disbelief, and gratitude. The drive home felt like an eternity. She called John on her phone, her voice shaking with excitement. "John, you won't believe this," she said, barely able to contain herself. "I found Buddy. I really found him. He's alive." John was silent for a moment, his voice choked with emotion when he finally spoke. "Are you sure? Lisa, is it really him?" "It's him," she replied, her voice firm despite the tears. "He recognized me. He came to me. John, it's Buddy." When they pulled into the driveway, Max and Lily were already waiting by the door, their faces a mix of confusion and anticipation. John stood behind them, his eyes wide with disbelief. As Lisa stepped out of the car and opened the back door, Buddy hesitated for a moment, then cautiously climbed down onto the familiar ground of his old home. Max's face lit up as he saw Buddy, his voice breaking as he shouted, "Buddy!" He ran toward the dog, his arms outstretched, but then he stopped short, noticing the fragility of the dog in front of him. Buddy looked at Max, his eyes softening, as if recognizing the boy he had watched grow up. Max knelt down, reaching his hand out, and Buddy slowly approached, pressing his head into Max's hand with a quiet whine. Tears streamed down Max's face as he wrapped his arms around Buddy, holding him close, a bond that hadn't diminished despite the years apart. Lily joined them, her own eyes filling with tears as she stroked Buddy's fur, her hand gentle and tender. She hadn't fully understood the loss they'd felt when Buddy disappeared. She had been so young. But she felt the magnitude of his return now, an echo of the pain and joy her family had experienced. As the family gathered around Buddy, Luna watched from a short distance, her ears perked up with curiosity. She was young and energetic, a stark contrast to Buddy's calm, wearied presence. But as if sensing the depth of his history with the family, Luna didn't intrude. Instead, she lay down nearby, her eyes watchful and respectful. That night, the Thompsons gathered around Buddy, brushing out the mats in his fur, offering him food and water, and speaking in hushed voices filled with love. Buddy seemed almost overwhelmed, his gaze moving from one family member to another, his eyes showing traces of memories he had kept alive during his time alone. He ate slowly, savoring each bite, his gaze grateful as he looked at Lisa, who sat beside him with a gentle hand resting on his back. As the evening wore on, John noticed Buddy limping slightly, his movements stiff and pained. Concerned, John suggested they take Buddy to the veterinarian first thing in the morning to make sure he was healthy and address any injuries he might have sustained. Lisa agreed, her heart aching as she imagined the difficulties Buddy must have endured in the wilderness. The family prepared a cozy spot for Buddy to sleep, setting up blankets and pillows in the living room where he could be surrounded by his loved ones. Max lay down beside Buddy, speaking softly to him, recounting the adventures he had over the past 3 years, as if no time had passed at all. Lily played a soft melody on her guitar, a song she'd composed in memory of Buddy, now transformed into a lullaby to welcome him back home. As Buddy drifted off to sleep, a gentle smile on his face, Lisa felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. She knew there would be challenges ahead, reintegrating Buddy into their lives, helping him heal from his time away, and adjusting to life with two dogs. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Buddy was home, and their family was whole once more. In the quiet of the night, Lisa looked at her husband, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We've got him back, John," she whispered, reaching for his hand. "Our Buddy is back." The road to healing. The morning sun filtered softly through the curtains as Buddy awoke, surrounded by the quiet murmurs and loving glances of the Thompson family. He stretched cautiously, feeling the strain in his limbs and a lingering ache in his joints. Though he was home, the scars of the past 3 years were visible in the lines of weariness etched into his movements. Lisa watched him, her heart swelling with both joy and worry, realizing that their journey with Buddy was far from over. They had him back, but now they had to help him heal. After breakfast, John gently lifted Buddy into the car. Luna followed them out, her tail wagging with excitement as she watched her family prepare for the trip. She cocked her head, puzzled by the unusual focus on this dog, who had suddenly become so important to her humans. Yet, sensing the solemnity, she refrained from her usual playful antics and sat quietly by Lisa's side. The Thompsons planned to take Buddy to the veterinarian who had cared for him since he was a puppy, a compassionate woman named Dr. Evans who knew Buddy as well as they did. The short drive to Dr. Evans's clinic felt laden with anticipation. Buddy gazed out the window, his eyes darting from one familiar landmark to another, each sight stirring memories buried deep within him. Max, seated beside him in the back, kept a reassuring hand on Buddy's fur, offering comfort through the quiet, steady presence of his touch. Dr. Evans greeted them with a gentle smile, her eyes lighting up with recognition as she looked at Buddy. "It's been a long time, Buddy," she said softly, her voice filled with warmth. She knelt down and extended a hand, allowing Buddy to sniff her before reaching out to pet him. Buddy leaned into her touch, his eyes reflecting a sense of relief, as if he knew he was in safe hands. "Let's give him a thorough checkup," Dr. Evans suggested, guiding them into an exam room. She moved gently and spoke soothingly to Buddy as she examined him, noting the signs of malnutrition, the thinness of his fur, and the stiffness in his limbs. With each careful touch, she murmured words of reassurance, and Buddy remained calm, his trust in her evident. Lisa watched, her chest tight with worry. She couldn't stop herself from asking the question that had been nagging her since Buddy's return. "Will he be okay?" Dr. Evans looked at her, her expression both kind and honest. "Buddy is resilient, Lisa. He's been through a lot, and it shows. He's underweight, and he has signs of arthritis, likely from the constant walking and lack of proper shelter. He'll need a special diet to regain his strength, and we'll start him on medication to help ease his joint pain. But with the right care and plenty of love, he can recover." Relief washed over Lisa as Dr. Evans's words sank in. It wouldn't be an easy road, but Buddy had come this far. They could handle the challenges ahead. Max and Lily, who had been listening intently, exchanged hopeful glances, their determination to help Buddy evident in their expressions. Dr. Evans prescribed a nutritious diet for Buddy and gave the family instructions on how to administer his medication. She also suggested physical therapy exercises to help him regain mobility and strength. "It's going to take time," she said, "but remember, you're giving him something he hasn't had in a long time. A safe home and a family that loves him." When they returned home, the Thompsons began their new routine with Buddy. They prepared his meals carefully, ensuring he received all the nutrients he needed. Each morning, Lisa took him on short, gentle walks around the neighborhood, careful not to strain his weary legs. At first, Buddy struggled, his steps slow and tentative. But with each passing day, a glimmer of his old spirit began to shine through. His steps grew a bit steadier, and the light in his eyes grew brighter, as if he were rediscovering his strength alongside his family. Meanwhile, Luna took it upon herself to become Buddy's steadfast companion. She followed him around the house, her youthful energy tempered by an instinctive gentleness when she was near him. She would lie beside him as he rested, occasionally nudging him with her nose as if encouraging him to keep going. At first, Buddy seemed unsure of Luna's attention, his wariness and caution evident. But gradually he accepted her presence, and soon the two of them were inseparable. Luna seemed to understand that Buddy had lived through trials she could never imagine, and she treated him with a respect beyond her years. One afternoon, a few weeks after Buddy's return, Max and Lily decided to introduce him to the backyard, hoping to rekindle his connection to the place where he had spent countless happy days. They opened the door, and Buddy hesitated for a moment, his gaze drifting over the familiar scene. The lawn where he used to play fetch, the tree he would rest under on hot summer days, and the little garden where he once dug holes despite Lisa's best efforts to keep it tidy. With a gentle nudge from Max, Buddy took a tentative step forward, then another, until he stood in the heart of the yard. He closed his eyes, breathing in the scents of the grass and the earth, his body relaxing as if he were finally home. Max threw a ball lightly, and though Buddy didn't run after it as he once would have, he walked over to it and nudged it with his nose, a faint smile on his face. As Buddy's strength returned little by little, so did his spirit. He began to play small games with Max and Lily, his tail wagging in appreciation for their patience. Every day, the family celebrated his progress, no matter how small. A walk that lasted a minute longer, a brighter gleam in his eyes, a softer, richer shine to his fur. They noticed every detail, and each one brought them closer to the Buddy they had once known. As the weeks turned into months, the Thompsons began to witness a beautiful transformation in Buddy. His fur regained its shine, and his eyes lost the haunted look that had first marked his return. His steps were still slow, his movements careful, but there was a dignity to his stride, a quiet resilience that spoke of everything he had endured and survived. The physical scars of his time away were healing, but more importantly, his heart was healing too. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room, Buddy did something he hadn't done since his return. He climbed onto the couch, settling himself between John and Lisa as if reclaiming his rightful place in the heart of the home. The family fell silent, watching him with a mixture of awe and love. Max and Lily moved closer, and Luna, sensing the importance of the moment, settled down on the floor nearby, content to be part of the circle. Buddy looked at each member of his family, his gaze lingering on each of them as if offering silent thanks. And then he closed his eyes, a soft, contented sigh escaping him. In that moment, the Thompsons knew that Buddy was truly home. The years of separation and pain, the memories of his time lost in the wilderness, all of it melted away, leaving only the love that had carried them through. As the evening wore on, the family sat together in peaceful silence, each of them aware that they had been given a second chance to love and cherish a dog who had always been more than just a pet. Buddy had returned, not only to their home, but to their hearts, and in doing so, he had reminded them of the resilience of love, the healing power of family, and the strength to overcome even the most unimaginable of separations. And so, the journey continued, not one of healing, but of new beginnings. Buddy was back, and this time, the Thompsons knew they would hold on to him forever. Rekindling old bonds. Buddy's return had brought an incredible shift in the Thompson household. For the family, every moment with him was a reminder of resilience, love, and the miracle of reunion. As the months passed, Buddy became a daily part of their routines once more, woven back into the fabric of their lives. He was slowly regaining his strength, and though his body bore signs of his journey, his spirit was healing, surrounded by the love of the family he had never truly left behind. Yet, with the restoration of Buddy's physical health came a new phase for the Thompsons, the journey to rekindle the bonds they had once shared so effortlessly. For Max, this meant finding ways to reconnect with Buddy through the activities they had loved when he was younger. Now 18 and on the verge of adulthood, Max felt the need to spend as much time with Buddy as possible. He had been only 15 when Buddy disappeared, a teenager just beginning to discover his place in the world. Now, looking at Buddy, he saw not only the cherished pet of his childhood, but also a faithful friend who had stood by him through years of change, growth, and self-discovery. One brisk autumn afternoon, Max decided to try something he and Buddy had once done every Saturday morning: a run through the wooded trails of Riverview Park. Buddy's age and time away meant he could no longer run like he once did, but Max was undeterred. He prepared a harness for Buddy, hoping they could walk the trails together, and encouraged Luna to join them. She leaped excitedly, sensing the thrill of adventure, while Buddy gave a gentle wag, his pace slower but his spirit bright. As they began the walk, Max felt a surge of nostalgia wash over him. The winding trails, the scent of pine and earth, the way the light filtered through the trees, all of it brought back memories of the countless times he had run these paths with Buddy at his side. But now, as they walked side by side, Buddy looked up at him with a serene gaze, his once youthful exuberance replaced by a calm wisdom. They walked in comfortable silence, pausing often for Buddy to rest, each stop giving Max a chance to reflect. He realized that while Buddy's physical strength may have changed, the essence of their bond had only deepened. He understood now that their connection wasn't defined by speed or energy, but by the trust and love they shared. As they reached a clearing with a view of the river below, Max knelt down, wrapping his arms around Buddy and resting his head against him, silently promising that he would cherish every moment they had left together. Meanwhile, Lily was on her own journey of rediscovery with Buddy. Now a teenager with an artistic flair, she spent much of her time painting or writing, and Buddy's return had ignited a new wave of inspiration. She found herself drawn to the idea of capturing him on canvas, a way of immortalizing the bond they shared and paying homage to the journey he had endured. Her memories of Buddy were softer, the haze of childhood memories blurring the details, but as she spent more time with him, those memories returned, vivid and clear. One rainy evening, as the family gathered in the living room, Lily set up her easel in a corner, sketching Buddy as he lay by the fire, his eyes half closed and his golden fur illuminated by the warm glow. With each brushstroke, she captured not just his form, but the strength and resilience she saw in him. She painted him as both the dog she had loved as a child and the survivor who had returned against all odds. It was a labor of love, a way of understanding him anew. And as she painted, she felt a deep gratitude that her childhood companion was now here to witness her growth, just as she had witnessed his return. As the family settled back into life with Buddy, they couldn't help but notice how Luma had become a central part of his recovery. Though her initial exuberance had been tempered by her awareness of Buddy's fragility, she had a way of bringing out a playful side in him that the Thompsons hadn't seen in years. It was as if her presence gave him permission to be young again, even if only in brief moments. She would drop a ball at his feet, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and though Buddy could no longer chase it with the same speed, he would give it a gentle nudge, his tail wagging with newfound excitement. One afternoon, while Lisa watched them play in the backyard, she felt a rush of gratitude for Luna's role in Buddy's healing. Luna had become more than just a companion. She was Buddy's shadow, his playful, spirited counterpart who knew when to coax him into a game and when to simply lie beside him in peaceful solidarity. It was as if she instinctively understood that Buddy's journey had left scars invisible to the human eye, scars that only another dog could sense and tend to with gentle persistence. Lisa, too, found herself reconnecting with Buddy in ways she hadn't expected. As a nurse, she was no stranger to caring for those in need, but her bond with Buddy had always been rooted in the simple joys of companionship rather than caretaking. Now, each day began with the rituals of his care, preparing his meals, administering his medication, and performing the gentle stretches and exercises Dr. Evans had recommended to ease his arthritis. These routines, though small, became acts of love, a quiet language between them that strengthened their connection. One evening, after everyone else had gone to bed, Lisa sat on the porch with Buddy, the two of them wrapped in silence beneath a sky studded with stars. She stroked his fur, her hand moving in slow, steady motions, and he leaned into her touch, his eyes closing as he let out a contented sigh. She spoke softly to him, telling him how grateful she was to have him back, how much he meant to the family, and how she wished he could somehow understand the depth of her love for him. Buddy, as if sensing her words, lifted his head and gazed at her, his eyes reflecting a depth that seemed almost human. In that quiet moment, Lisa felt the invisible bond between them deepen, a bond that transcended words. She realized that Buddy's journey hadn't just been one of survival. It had been a testament to the strength of love itself, a love that had carried him through the darkest days and brought him back to them. As the weeks turned into months, the Thompson family continued to weave Buddy back into their lives, finding ways to celebrate his presence and honor his past. They organized a small gathering in their backyard, inviting friends and neighbors who had supported them during Buddy's absence. It was a simple affair, with lanterns strung up around the yard, a bonfire crackling in the center, and everyone gathered in a circle, sharing stories about Buddy and the memories they had of him. Max recounted his early runs with Buddy, while Lily shared a poem she had written, capturing the joy of his return. Buddy sat in the midst of it all, his gaze moving from one face to another, his eyes shining with the quiet contentment of a dog who knew he was home. Luna lay beside him, resting her head on his paws, as if sharing in the pride of his journey. As the evening wound down, John rose and raised a toast, his voice thick with emotion as he spoke. "To Buddy," he said, lifting his glass, "for finding his way back to us, for teaching us the meaning of resilience, and for reminding us that family is not just about being together. It's about holding each other in our hearts, no matter where life takes us." Everyone raised their glasses, their voices mingling in a heartfelt cheer for Buddy, who sat quietly, his eyes bright and his tail wagging in soft, steady motions. That night, as the family settled down, they felt a sense of peace they hadn't known in years. Buddy was back, not only physically but in spirit, and their bond was stronger than ever. They had walked through grief, loss, and reunion together, and now, as they moved forward, they knew they were united by a love that had withstood the test of time and distance. Buddy, nestled between his family, closed his eyes, his heart finally at rest. He was home, and he knew that no matter what lay ahead, he would never walk alone again. Rediscovering the world. As Buddy settled back into life with the Thompsons, he began to reclaim more than just his place in the family. He was rediscovering the world he had once known. Every day brought a new experience, a chance to reconnect with his surroundings, and in his quiet way, Buddy began to embrace the simple pleasures he had missed during his years away. The first snow of the season arrived on a crisp December morning, covering Riverview in a blanket of pristine white. For Buddy, the sight brought a spark to his eyes that Lisa hadn't seen in months. Snow had always been his favorite, and Lisa could vividly remember the sight of him bounding through the drifts as a young dog, his nose buried in the powder as he chased after snowflakes. She watched now as he took a tentative step outside, his paws sinking into the cold, soft blanket beneath him. Buddy paused, lifting a paw as if testing the memory, then lowered it, wagging his tail as he took in the familiar scent of winter. Max and Lily, bundled up in thick coats and scarves, joined him in the yard, their excitement matching his own. They called out to Buddy, inviting him to play, and he responded with a playful bark, a sound they hadn't heard since his return. Luna, ever eager for adventure, bounded past him, flinging snow into the air as she spun and twirled, inviting Buddy to join her. Buddy took a few careful steps toward her, his movements slow but determined, until he found himself caught up in the playful energy around him. Max rolled a snowball and gently tossed it in Buddy's direction, and Buddy, with a glimmer of his old mischief, nudged it with his nose, sending it rolling back toward Max. The family laughed, delighted by his playful spirit. For a moment, the years melted away, and he was once again the carefree dog they remembered, leaping and wagging his tail with abandon. As the snow continued to fall, Max and Lily decided to build the snowman, and Buddy watched intently, his head tilted with curiosity. They crafted the snowman's body, patting it down until it stood tall, and then Lily placed a scarf around its neck, while Max added a carrot nose and button eyes. When they were finished, they turned to Buddy, laughing as they invited him to inspect their creation. Buddy stepped forward, sniffing at the snowman, his breath fogging in the chilly air. With a soft woof, he nudged the carrot nose, knocking it off the snowman's face and sending it rolling across the yard. Max and Lily burst into laughter, and even Buddy seemed pleased with himself, his eyes bright with a spark of mischief. Inside, Lisa watched from the kitchen window, her heart swelling with gratitude. She couldn't help but marvel at the change in Buddy. He was no longer the fragile, wary dog who had returned to them. He was reclaiming his confidence, his playfulness, and his joy, piece by piece, as if each new day was another step toward healing. Watching him with Max and Lily, she felt as if their family was finally complete again, the empty spaces of their past filled by the moments of love and laughter that defined their present. As Christmas approached, the Thompsons decided to embrace the holiday spirit in full force, decorating the house with twinkling lights, wreaths, and ornaments that filled each room with warmth and cheer. For Buddy, the holiday season was both familiar and new, the scents and sounds evoking memories of Christmases past. He watched with curiosity as the family set up the Christmas tree, his tail wagging as they unpacked ornaments that had once been part of his world. One evening, as they hung ornaments, Lily took out a small hand-painted ornament with Buddy's name on it. It was an old one, crafted when he was just a puppy, with a paw print stamped in paint on one side. She held it up to him, her eyes shining with love. "This one's for you, Buddy," she said softly, hanging it on a branch near the base of the tree where he could see it. Buddy sniffed the ornament, his eyes softening as he settled down beside the tree, resting his head on his paws as he watched the lights flicker and dance. The glow of the holiday decorations cast a gentle light over him, illuminating the gray in his fur and the wisdom in his gaze. It was as if he understood the importance of the moment, of the memories that bound him to his family. For him, this was more than just a Christmas tree. It was a symbol of the love that had guided him back home. The days passed, each one bringing a new discovery for Buddy. John, who was deeply grateful for Buddy's return, decided to create new traditions for them to share, simple rituals that would celebrate the bond they had rebuilt. He began to take Buddy on short drives through the town, showing him the places they used to visit, as if reacquainting him with the world he had once known. They visited the local lake where Buddy used to swim, the quiet park where they had shared countless picnics, and the tree-lined trails that held the secrets of their past adventures. On one such drive, John took Buddy to a little cabin at the edge of Riverview, a place he had once rented for family camping trips. The cabin was nestled in the woods, surrounded by tall pines and the whisper of nature. As they stepped out of the car, Buddy's nose twitched, and he looked around with a sense of recognition. He padded forward, sniffing the ground, his tail wagging as he took in the familiar scents. For John, it was a bittersweet reminder of the past, but it also filled him with hope, knowing that Buddy could finally experience these places again, not as memories, but as present moments shared together. As they made their way back to the car, John knelt down and wrapped his arms around Buddy, resting his head against his beloved dog. "I missed you, Buddy," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I never gave up on you, not for a second." Buddy responded with a soft lick to John's cheek, a silent promise of his own, a promise to stay, to be there for the family that had waited so patiently for him. They stood there for a few quiet moments, their breaths mingling in the crisp winter air, a man and his dog, bound by a love that had endured the test of time and distance. Christmas Eve arrived, and the Thompson house was alive with laughter, warmth, and the joyful chaos of family traditions. The kitchen filled with the scents of cinnamon and ginger as Lisa baked cookies, the sound of carols drifted through the house, and Max and Lily took turns wrapping gifts and sneaking pieces of candy from the kitchen. Luna and Buddy followed the family members from room to room, their tails wagging in anticipation of the festivities. That evening, after a festive dinner, the family gathered in the living room, where a cozy fire crackled in the hearth. They sat together, sharing stories, reminiscing about past holidays, and reflecting on the journey that had brought Buddy back to them. As the night wore on, Lisa brought out a small package, wrapped with a red ribbon and labeled with Buddy's name. With a smile, she handed it to Max and Lily, who carefully unwrapped it to reveal a new collar, a deep forest green that matched the color of Buddy's eyes. Engraved on the tag was a simple message: "Forever loved, forever home." They gently fastened it around Buddy's neck, and he sat proudly, his gaze moving from one family member to the next as if acknowledging their love. As midnight approached, they settled down, with Buddy lying at their feet, his body relaxed and his heart at peace. The house was filled with the soft glow of Christmas lights, and outside, the world was quiet, blanketed by the soft hush of snow. John leaned back, his arm around Lisa, and he whispered, "This is how it was always meant to be." Max and Lily drifted off to sleep beside Buddy, their hands resting on his fur, their breaths steady and peaceful. Luna curled up beside them, her head nestled against Buddy's side, as if guarding him through the night. As the fire crackled and the snow fell softly outside, Buddy closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of his family surrounding him, and he knew he was truly home. The journey that had begun with separation, hardship, and a seemingly impossible hope had come full circle. In the gentle stillness of that Christmas Eve, Buddy felt the unwavering love of the Thompsons, a love that had reached him across distance and time, and had brought him back to the place where he belonged. The family, gathered together in the heart of their home, was finally complete. They had each found a piece of themselves in Buddy's return, a reminder of the strength of family, the resilience of love, and the beauty of second chances. As the clock struck midnight, a sense of peace settled over them, and they knew that the bonds they shared would endure, no matter where life took them. A legacy of love. The Thompsons awoke on Christmas morning to a serene silence, the kind that only follows a night of fresh snowfall. The world outside was wrapped in a thick, untouched blanket of snow, glistening under the soft light of dawn. Inside, the family stirred, stretching and yawning as they emerged from their cozy blankets. But this Christmas morning felt different. There was a quiet magic in the air, a warmth that radiated not from the fireplace or the festive lights, but from the heart of their home, embodied by Buddy's gentle presence. Buddy lay nestled between Max and Lily, his breathing deep and peaceful, his new collar shining faintly in the morning light. Luna stretched beside him, her playful eyes lighting up as she noticed her family waking. As Max rubbed his eyes and sat up, his gaze fell on Buddy, and he smiled, remembering the journey that had brought them all to this moment. He reached down to stroke Buddy's fur, feeling the strength in his body, knowing that every moment with him was a gift. They gathered around the Christmas tree, opening gifts with laughter and cheer. Each present held a special meaning, a reminder of their love for one another, their shared memories, and the dreams they held for the future. Max opened a gift from his parents, a photo album filled with pictures of Buddy from his younger days. The album was a beautiful tribute to the bond they shared, capturing moments that had once felt like distant memories, but now seemed closer than ever. Lily's gift was a canvas she had painted for the family, a portrait of Buddy, sitting beneath the old oak tree in their backyard, his eyes full of the wisdom and gentleness she had come to know so well. She had painted him with a hint of a smile, his fur glowing in the golden light of an autumn afternoon, and beside him, she had painted Luna, her expression playful and loyal, as if watching over her beloved friend. The painting captured the essence of their family, the love and resilience that bound them together, and it left everyone in awe. "Lily, this is beautiful," Lisa whispered, tears in her eyes as she studied the painting. "You've captured him perfectly." Buddy lay at their feet, watching them with a calm gaze, as if understanding that he was the heart of their gathering, the reason for their joy. And in that moment, it became clear to each of them that Buddy's return was not just a miracle, it was a gift that had deepened their appreciation for the life they shared. As the morning turned into afternoon, the family decided to take Buddy and Luna on a walk through the town, a way of celebrating the day together and sharing their gratitude with their neighbors. Riverview was quiet on Christmas Day, with most families gathered inside, but the snow-covered streets held a charm of their own. The town transformed into a winter wonderland. They walked past familiar houses, some of which had been the first to receive their posters when Buddy had gone missing, each home representing a piece of the community that had supported them through their grief and celebration. Neighbors waved from their windows, smiling and calling out greetings as they spotted Buddy, their voices filled with warmth. It seemed that everyone in Riverview knew his story, and they, too, shared in the joy of his return. As they neared the park, Lisa noticed an elderly woman sitting on a bench, wrapped in a thick coat and scarf, her gaze fixed on the river. The woman looked up as they approached, her eyes softening as she noticed Buddy walking alongside them. She smiled and motioned them over, her voice kind as she greeted them. "This must be the famous Buddy I've heard so much about," she said, her tone gentle and warm. Lisa nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Yes, this is Buddy. He's been through a lot, but he's home now." The woman reached out to Buddy, who approached her with his usual calmness, allowing her to stroke his fur. "You're a lucky dog, Buddy," she murmured, her eyes filled with understanding. "And this family, they're even luckier to have you back." They exchanged stories, sharing the journey Buddy had been on, the hope they had held on to, and the joy of his return. The woman, whose name was Margaret, had lived in Riverview her entire life. She shared her own tales of companionship with animals she had loved and lost, and as she spoke, it became clear that she understood the depth of the bond between humans and their pets. For Margaret, meeting Buddy was like witnessing a piece of magic, a reminder of the loyalty and love that animals bring into the lives of those who cherish them. As they said their goodbyes, Margaret placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder, her expression wise and knowing. "Cherish every moment with him," she said softly. "Love like his is a gift, a legacy that will live on, even when he's no longer here." The words lingered with Lisa as they walked home, her heart both heavy and full. She realized then that Buddy's presence was more than just a comfort. It was a legacy that would live on in each of them. His love, his resilience, and the bond they shared would shape their lives, creating memories that would outlast time. That night, as they gathered around the dinner table, John proposed a toast. He held up his glass, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "To Buddy," he said, looking around the table, his gaze resting on each family member, "for teaching us the meaning of loyalty, of patience, and of the strength it takes to come home. And to this family," he continued, his voice softening, "for holding on to hope even when it seemed impossible." They raised their glasses, their voices mingling in a heartfelt tribute to Buddy. As they clinked glasses, Buddy lifted his head, his tail wagging gently, as if he understood the honor they were bestowing upon him. After dinner, they settled in the living room, each of them feeling the warmth of the season, the love of family, and the quiet peace of knowing they were together. Lily played her guitar, strumming a soft melody she had composed just for Buddy, a song that spoke of love, loss, and the journey of finding home. Her voice, gentle and clear, filled the room, her lyrics capturing the essence of Buddy's journey and the bond they shared. When she finished, there was a quiet hush, as if the music had reached deep into each of their hearts. Buddy rested his head on Max's lap, his eyes closing in contentment, as if lulled by the sound of the song. Luna curled up beside him, her head resting against his side, as if sensing the sacredness of the moment. As the night wore on, each family member took a turn sharing a memory of Buddy, a favorite moment, a funny story, or a cherished experience that captured his spirit. Max recalled their early runs together, how Buddy had been his first training partner, his companion in every victory and defeat. Lily shared her memory of their days spent painting in the yard, Buddy always by her side, watching her with gentle eyes. John spoke of the peace he felt whenever he came home to Buddy, the quiet joy of knowing he was loved unconditionally. And Lisa shared her gratitude for the countless times Buddy had been there, her loyal companion through all the ups and downs of life. As they spoke, it became clear that Buddy's presence had shaped each of them in unique ways, leaving an imprint on their hearts that would last a lifetime. They understood now that Buddy's legacy would live on, not just in the memories they held, but in the way they loved, in the patience they showed, and in the resilience they embraced. When it was time to go to bed, Max lingered in the living room, kneeling beside Buddy and placing a hand on his fur. "Thank you, Buddy," he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for coming back to us, for showing me what it means to never give up." Buddy's eyes met Max's, and in that gaze there was a depth of understanding that needed no words. It was a bond born of shared experiences, of love that had withstood the test of time and distance. As Max stood and turned off the lights, he knew that Buddy's spirit would be with him always, guiding him through life with the quiet strength of their unbreakable bond. In the darkness, the family lay together, Buddy at the heart of it all, his breathing steady and peaceful. And as they drifted off to sleep, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would carry Buddy's legacy forward, honoring his love, his loyalty, and the gift of his presence. In that quiet house in Riverview, beneath the winter stars, the Thompsons knew that they had been given something rare and beautiful, a second chance, a love that would live on forever. And in the years to come, they would tell Buddy's story, passing down his memory to future generations, a tale of resilience, hope, and the enduring power of love that would light their lives for as long as they could remember.